I probably look like shit right now. I was like, you're filming tomorrow, you better get a lot of sleep, and my body was just like... Guess who my favorite Marvel character is? Spider-Man. Guess who my favorite superhero in general is? Spider-Man. Guess who my favorite character in all of fictional media is? Well, it's Skimbleshanks the Railway Cat, but after that, it's Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man. In my opinion, he's a perfect superhero. I've read probably almost 1,000 individual Spider-Man issues. That's not a brag. It's a cry for help. So, as I imagine you've guessed, I've got some opinions on the live-action versions of the character. Which of these do I think is the best Spider-Man? Well, there's that classic opinion, Tobey was a good Peter, Andrew was a good Spider-Man, and Tom was a good mix of both. Fuck that. This is the official ranking right here. Andrew at the bottom, Tom getting cozy in the middle, and then Tobey, my boy Tobey sitting pretty on top. Two things. One, this isn't a meme. I ain't memeing. I love writing memes, but I'm setting that affection aside for this video. And two, I promise I'm not blinded by nostalgia. In fact, by default, I hate older movies. I'm still convinced Gone with the Wind was made as a prank. Nope, this is an opinion based on reasons. Now, to explain this ranking, we gotta ask ourselves, what makes Spider-Man Spider-Man? Let's take a look. Is it the webs? Nope, take that away. That's still Spider-Man. Is it the costume? No, take that away. That's still Spider-Man. Let's dive deeper. What is Spider-Man at his core? Oh, here it comes, here it comes. There it is. With great power comes great responsibility. Oof, iconic. Can we get Cliff Robertson saying that real quick?
With great power comes great responsibility.
Wow. I'm shooting webs right now if you know what I'm talking about. This idea of with great power comes great responsibility is what makes Peter so interesting. Peter Parker, by default, is kind of a shitty person. This may come as a surprise to you if you haven't read the original comics from the 60s, but Peter Parker is a textbook incel. He's this loser that blames the entire world for his problems. He's got no interest in helping other people. The only people he cares about are his aunt and uncle. He doesn't want to be a hero. He wants money. He wants clout. He wants to fuck. That's why when he gains his powers, his instinct is to use them for his personal gain. He is a piece of shit, but he's a piece of shit who learns a lesson. His uncle, one of the two people in the entire world that he cares about, dies as an indirect result of his actions. And that's when he realizes he owes it to his uncle to use his powers for good. He learns, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's what makes Peter so interesting. That's what separates him from heroes like Superman or Captain America. Captain America always acts selflessly because it's his nature. Spider-Man acts selflessly despite his nature. Alright, so let's take this thing and hold it up to each one of these fucking clowns and see what happens. Let's start with Andrew Garfield. Andrew, I love you, man, you're a great actor, but let's face it, your Spider-Man sucks 10-pound testicles. But it's not your fault, you did the best with what you had. It's really the fault of the 27 writers that wrote those movies, and it all comes down to this scene.
You can leave a penny anytime, you have to spend $10 to take a penny.
What?
Daddy didn't give you enough milk money today?
What?
Really? Really? Hey, stop! Hey, kid, little help?
What?
Hey!
Eugene!
Uncle Ben!
What?
So he lets the robber go, and the robber caps Martin Sheen, and Peter sees this. He immediately knows it's the man with the star on his wrist who shot his uncle, so obviously his reaction would be to blame himself, right? After all, he's the one who let the robber go. Now he has to make up for it by being a hero and embrace his responsibility to help people. Nope, instead he goes on a revenge quest to catch the killer. The only criminals he goes after are the ones who look like this dude. What? Movie, do you not get the whole point of Uncle Ben dying? They even have the dude say the line, albeit a version that got ran through a thesaurus.
He believed that if you could do good things for other people, you had a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
But that just goes to show how much they didn't understand the character. They're just going through the motions. Like, they just watched the first movie and were like, oh, okay, so Uncle Ben has to die at some point, Peter Parker has to become Spider-Man, and they just didn't realize that there was like a correlation between the two. Also, just a quick reminder that Uncle Ben died because Peter couldn't get his chalky milk. Hope that chalky milk was good. Cost you one whole uncle. So yeah, not a good Spider-Man. Someone get this guy out of here. See you, Andrew. Good luck with your sexuality. Next, we got Tom, the current Spider-Man. Tom, you're a delight. Look at him go. Look at him do those little flips. He's so cute, I just want to put him in my pocket. But his Spider-Man needs improvement. Now, when it comes to this core aspect of Peter, did Marvel Studios fundamentally fuck it up like the last movies did? No. They don't do anything to directly fly in the face of Uncle Ben's lesson, but That's just because it's sort of MIA. In Civil War, Peter does talk about what drives him, and more or less he's saying with great power comes great responsibility. And you really get the sense that he believes that conviction, and that's why this is one of my favorite scenes in any MCU movie. Unfortunately, it seems like John Watts was like, I'm gonna pretend I didn't see that, because there's a bit of a disconnect between this appearance and every one of his other appearances in the entire MCU. From this point on, you don't get the sense at all that this conviction is what drives him. It's probably because it's like illegal or something to bring up Uncle Ben. Like, I get not showing him because we've seen it a bunch of times, but it's just bizarre that such an important character has zero presence in these movies whatsoever. Come on, you could bring him up every once in a while. I won't tell anyone. Right now, it doesn't feel like this is the moment that created Spider-Man. Right now, it feels like this retcon scene is the moment that created Spider-Man. Like this Peter's not driven by his guilt, but by his admiration for Tony Stark. And that totally works as an MCU thing. Just not so much as a Spider-Man thing. So this version of Spider-Man sits right in the middle because unlike Garfield's Spider-Man, it's not inherently ruined. Marvel just needs to realize how important this element of the character is and just slide it right in, and then boom, we're in business. So let's just go ahead and take Tom, bring him over here, let's tuck him to bed. Mwah, mwah, mwah. You're gonna be such a good Spider-Man one day. Just look out for those monsters under your bed. Now, let's talk about why Tobey is the definitive on-screen Spider-Man. I'll say this, it's certainly not because he's the best actor of the bunch. Tom has this natural talent and charisma, and Andrew blows me away in everything he's in. Hell, even his Spider-Man movies. Meanwhile, Tobey's performances often wind up feeling stiff or even stray into goofy territory. Listen, all hail Lord Maguire and all that, pop my cherry and don't tell Harry, but you could argue he might be the worst actor among these guys. The reason this character is still good is this guy, Sam Huge Cock Raimi. He knows how to utilize Tobey incredibly well, turning his natural dorkiness into a critical piece of this version of the character. And more importantly, Raimi just understands Spider-Man. Spider-Man 1. A perfect portrayal of Peter's origin. Here you got Peter Parker, who's constantly being beaten down by society.
Pizza time.
As soon as he gets those spider powers, he realizes he can beat up his bully, he can make money, he can get the girl. Uncle Ben tries to reach out to him so that he could teach him. Let's hear it again.
With great power comes great responsibility.
Thanks, Cliff. But as soon as Ben threatens Peter's newfound ego...
Stop lecturing me, please.
I don't mean to lecture and I don't mean to preach. And I know I'm not your father.
Then stop pretending to be.
Peter rips out Ben's heart, smashes it to pieces, then sets it on fire. And then when Peter's faced with the option to do the right thing, he doesn't do it. He chooses his own pride over responsibility. When his uncle dies, Peter goes on his Amazing Spider-Man 1 revenge quest, only to find out that the killer was the man he allowed to escape. And he learns. He learns the hard way to heed his uncle's words. He learns that thing. And for the rest of the series, you feel that. Every action that Peter takes from this point on is informed by this message. Whether he's doing something because of it or despite it, every decision he makes is ran through that filter. And even with Uncle Ben dead, his presence is always felt through visions, through conversations with Aunt May, through Peter dramatically looking out his windows. Having him always be there is showing us that Peter never forgets why he's doing this. Do you want to know what my favorite movie of all time is? Spider-Man 2. This is definitively the best Spider-Man movie ever made. Yeah, Spider-Verse is great. In fact, it's one of my favorite animated movies ever. It probably goes Iron Giant, The Incredibles, Spider-Verse. I love Spider-Verse. But if Spider-Man 2 asked me to, I'd smother Spider-Verse in its sleep. Why is Spider-Man 2 so good? Well, A, because it was made by an actual talented director who was allowed to explore his vision and make a piece of art and not just a product. And B, because the movie takes this idea and spends every second of its runtime exploring it. If Spider-Man 1's about learning with great power comes great responsibility, Spider-Man 2's about coming to terms with the consequences of living up to such an ideal. The entire movie, Peter is getting just fucked sideways by Spider-Man. He loses his job, he's failing his classes, he can't go to MJ's plays, he can't help Aunt May financially. Nothing is going right. He can't maintain anything in his personal life because so much of his time is taken up by having to be Spider-Man. The misery just keeps stacking and stacking and stacking until it all culminates into this one night where his best friend humiliates him in front of everyone. Not cool, dude.
Brother?
And the woman he alienated gets engaged to this dude played by James Marsden? No, it's somebody else. Everything has finally fallen apart. Peter Parker's life has been ruined by the responsibility of having to be Spider-Man. And that's when his powers finally fail on him. Like his own body is saying,
"Stop it. Get some help."
So in this heartbreaking scene, he rejects Uncle Ben's lesson and stops being Spider-Man.
I'm Spider-Man. No more. No more.
And then suddenly his life is lit, bro. He's going around doing musical montages, he can go to the play, he can get the good grades, he can eat the hot dog. But then people start getting hurt. He sees how much it hurt Aunt May that he didn't do the right thing when he could have. He begins to understand how much darker this world is when Spider-Man's not in it. He realizes he can't live with people suffering because of his inaction. Aunt May tells him that people need a hero. He has the power to be that hero. He alone has the power to inspire people and give them hope in a way only Spider-Man can. Uncle Ben taught him with great power comes great responsibility. Aunt May added a little asterisk at the end.
Even though sometimes we have to be steady and give up the thing we want the most. Even our dreams.
In the end, he can't deny his responsibility. The lesson is reinforced and he accepts his role. We learn that Spider-Man isn't just about living by this lesson. It's about inspiring others to live by it too. Even people like Doc Ock, who in the end sacrifices everything to do what's right. We could all stand to be a little bit more like Spider-Man. But remember to do something for yourself every once in a while. And there you have it. That's why I love Tobey. Everything I love about his Spider-Man is everything I love about Spider-Man. This version of Spider-Man makes me want to be a better person. I know other people have different opinions, and that's fine. Spider-Man is such a far-reaching, beloved character, and part of what makes him great is that he means different things to different people. Maybe it's his intelligence that's important to you, or the fact that anyone can be behind the mask. Part of what got me into him in the first place was the fact that no matter how bad things got for him, he was always willing to crack a joke and be positive, and that got me through a lot of things in life. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What does Spider-Man mean to you? What do you love about him? Or maybe you hate him. Tell us why. Who's your favorite Spider-Man? Let's continue the conversation in the comments. Just know that if you say Andrew Garfield, you're wrong and everyone will laugh at you.